Hey guys, tonight we're heading to the frosty edges of early medieval Scandinavia, somewhere between the sea salt winds and the smoky halls of the north. You're going to wake up in a Viking longhouse, not in battle, not aboard a ship, but inside the quiet dawn of everyday Norse life. It's darker than you'd think, warmer than you'd expect, and surprisingly, well-groomed up, because while history remembers them as rough, sword-swinging raiders, Vikings were also deeply committed to one thing we often forget: combing their beards. Yes, often, daily, even, and by the end of tonight's journey, so will you be. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here, and tell me in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is there. I always love hearing about your corners of the world. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You wake to the sound of snoring. Not gentle, rhythmic snoring, but a deep, phlegmy rumble from the man on the other side of the hearth. His arm is flopped out into the ashes, and you're pretty sure that smoldering piece of charcoal just singed his beard. He doesn't flinch. You do. The air in the longhouse is thick with wood smoke, animal fur, and something earthy like damp wool left in a barrel of garlic. It's not unpleasant, just assertive. Around you, other bodies begin to shift beneath fur blankets and straw bedding. The fire crackles softly. A goat outside bleats its way into the morning. You sit up, careful not to bump your head on the rub your own chin, a bit itchy. Beside the fire, an older man in a coarse tunic is sitting cross-legged, carefully untangling the long braid in his beard. His comb, carved from bone, with fine teeth and an elegant curve. He moves it slowly, reverently, like he's reciting a prayer. Better to fight tangled enemies than tangled hair. Paints a cleaner picture. In fact, cleanliness was important in Viking society. You were expected to wash your face and hands daily. Saturday, that was for bathing. Hair combing happened every morning, even during raids. Travelers reported how the Norse would pause to wash and groom before dealing with diplomacy or plundering. They might steal your silver, but they'd do it with immaculate facial hair. You pull on a wool tunic, rough spun, your feet. To your left, a woman is already hanging damp linen on a bedpost. Her braids are freshly tied, her hands red from cold. To your right, a trough of water where another man is bent over, splashing his face and scrubbing his neck. His beard is thick, braided, and dripping. When he sees you, he points to a set of combs on a nearby stump. You pick one up. It's warm from the sun, smooth under your thumb, bone or antler, carefully carved. The teeth are fine, evenly spaced. The back bears a runic symbol, alges, a rune of protection, maybe from lice, maybe from judgment. You tentatively run the comb through your hair. It catches, tugs, and then slides smoother with each stroke. You catch your reflection in the water, fuzzy, crooked, vaguely threatening. Not quite a Viking yet, but better. A raven squawks from a roof beam. Behind you, someone whistles a low tune and starts sharpening an axe, not for battle, just to cut firewood. He pauses to braid his mustache before continuing. You're beginning to see it. The Viking aesthetic wasn't just for show. It was ritual, identity, expression. In a world where status came from strength, cleanliness helped you stand out, especially when you spent weeks at sea, or months in smoky halls, or decades on the wrong side of a saga. Historians still argue whether the Norse emphasis on grooming came from social pressure, religious belief, or simple practicality. The truth, likely all three. Looking sharp wasn't just vanity, survival, seduction, and, occasionally, sorcery. You finish combing and shake out your hair. A breeze lifts it briefly, then tucks it behind your ear like a polite ghost. Breakfast is ready. Someone passes you a wooden bowl of porridge and a sliver of dried fish. You eat slowly, the warmth settling into your bones. Across the hall, a girl sharpens a bone needle with a whetstone, then carefully threads it through her braid. It's an accessory, but also a weapon. Vikings were good at that, making beauty out of utility. And vice versa. A man stands to speak. He's tall, broad-shouldered, with a beard that could be a tax shelter. He clears his throat. Tomorrow we go to Burka, he says. Trade. Bring combs. Bring good faces. They all nod. You nod too, your fingers instinctively stroking your beard, or where a beard might eventually live. Because here, looking good isn't optional. The sun creeps higher over the snow-dusted hills, stretching long shadows across the frozen earth. You're outside now, full of hot porridge and a new sense of responsibility, mostly to your facial hair. The wind bites at your cheeks, but your hands are warm inside your sleeves. Beside you, a boy sharpens a fidget. Behind you, someone is already packing goods into a sled pulled by a very annoyed-looking cow. You've been assigned to help prepare for tomorrow's journey to Burka, the nearest trading town. But first, there's something you need to understand. Viking life isn't just hammers and howling, it's a rhythm, a routine, and grooming. That's part of it. Every day. No excuses. Not even if you're about to go wrestle a bear or paddle across a fjord. You follow two of the village men down a frost-slick path toward the stream. Comb in hand, they carry buckets, soap-root bundles, and an unmistakable air of habitual cleanliness. Don't let the sagas fool you, one says. Even a berserker wipes his boots. The stream is narrow and partially frozen, but the water still moves beneath the surface, dark and quick. The men crack a hole with a wooden mallet, steam rising from the exposed water. One of them splashes his face, then reaches into a pouch and pulls out a cloth-wrapped package. It's a grooming kit complete, with a bone comb, a small pair of shears, a metal pick, and a bit of sweet-smelling resin. Smells better than you, he says, tossing the kit toward you. You unwrap it with care. The tools are beautifully made, simple, yes, but clearly valuable. Functional art. You begin to suspect that, for Vikings, personal grooming wasn't just hygiene, it was craftsmanship. You kneel beside the stream and start washing your face. The cold water slaps your skin awake. You splash again, cheeks tingling, nostrils clearing. It's bracing, invigorating, maybe mildly traumatic. Beside you, one of the men carefully oils his mustache with what smells like pine resin and animal fat. He uses a curved bronze comb to spread the oil evenly, stroking downward with almost meditative precision. Presentation is everything, he mutters. Even for your enemies. The other man snorts. Especially for your enemies. If they're going to remember your face, best make sure it's tidy. You nod, unsure if they're joking, probably not. The scratch of bone teeth untangled. Hair, the way each pass makes you feel more assembled. Less beast, more person. And this isn't just a fluke. Archaeologists have found Viking combs across nearly every known settlement trib. Hidibijo. They're among the most common grave goods, alongside weapons and coins. Some were simple. Others were ornately carved, with interlacing knotwork, animal motifs, even runes for protection and strength. But they all shared one feature. Fine, tightly spaced teeth, perfect for teasing out tangles. And lice. Yes, lice. You knew we'd get there eventually. Because while grooming looked impressive, it was also practical. Combing was the main defense against the itchy invaders that made life miserable in close quarters. The Norse didn't have shampoo or bug spray. They had combs. Lots of them. You glance at your own again. The teeth are smooth now. No snags. A job well done. Nearby, a woman is tending a pot of boiling water beside a wooden tub. She lifts a linen tunic from the steam and lays it across a clean plank. Another reminder, cleanliness here isn't rare. It's routine. You walk back toward the longhouse with the men, carrying your now-prized grooming kit. As you pass others in the village, blacksmiths, herders, children, nearly all of them are tidying something. Someone's trimming their nails with a flint knife. A girl braids her little brother's hair while muttering something about trolls. A man gently unknots the beard of his elderly father, working silently with the focus of a scribe. It's unexpectedly tender. Historians still debate just how clean Vikings really were. Some argue they only washed weekly, and only with river water. Others point to accounts by Anglo-Saxon monks and Irish scribes, who marveled at how well-groomed Norsemen were, especially compared to the locals. One Anglo-Saxon cleric wrote, rather begrudgingly, that Viking men bathed once a week on Saturdays and changed their clothes more often than English nobles. The horror. As you re-enter the longhouse, the familiar scents greet you. Smoke, pine, a hint of fermented fish, and now, beard oil. Progress. Your chores for the day involve sorting small items into travel bundle spools of linen. Furs for trade. A few glinting glass beads likely imported from the east. You tie the bundles with care. Nearby, the teenage boy is still fussing over his beard in the reflection of a polished bronze plate. He spots you watching and says, "Doesn't matter how sharp your sword is, if your face is full of moss." You stifle a laugh. He holds up a second comb, offering it to you as if passing down an heirloom. "Keep it clean. Respect it. It's part of you now." You take it. It fits perfectly in your palm. Evening begins to stretch across the snowy hills. Smoke curls into the pink sky. Someone's playing a lyre, and the rhythm of daily life slows into restfulness. You sit by the fire, rubbing a bit of oil into your beard, which now gleams with the faint sheen of animal tallow and quiet dignity. The woman from earlier hands you a piece of dried apple and a nod of approval. "Combed today," she says. "You look like someone now." You smile. "And tomorrow, you'll be trading in Burka. And heaven help you if you show up looking like a bog monster. The next morning breaks with a moan from somewhere deep inside the longhouse. Someone discovering frost has crept into their boots. You're up before the sun, rubbing sleep from your eyes and reaching instinctively for the little bone comb that now lives beneath your wool pillow. You press it into your palm. There's a comfort in the ritual already, like cracking your back or that first stretch of the day. You sit up. The fire's nearly out. The room is a forest of legs and furs. A snore rattles from a corner, and a chicken hops indifferently across the floor. But in the dim light, already someone is combing. He's crouched near the door, sleeves rolled, hair pinned back. The sound of the comb is soft, almost rhythmic. Scratch, pull, sweep. His beard is a glorious mess of coppery red and frost. You can practically hear it bristling. And he combs like a man preparing for something. Like the comb is part sword, part spell. You shuffle over and sit beside him. He hands you a comb without a word. His is horn, smooth and black, with a handle shaped like a wolf's head. Yours is bone, simple, a little chipped now at the edge, but it works. You both comb in silence. The world outside is still dark, but the air carries that faint glow that means it's almost time to travel. This man, his name is Bjorn. You recall, finally speaks. Better to greet the gods with a neat beard than a wild one. You're not sure if he's serious. His face doesn't help. His eyes are half closed. He might still be asleep. But it does raise a question. Why do they care so much? You've been asking this quietly since yesterday. But the deeper answer may lie in what you're doing right now. Touching something every day that is undeniably you. Tending it, shaping it, defining yourself through control, even when the rest of your life is chaos and storm and spear. Because while people often think of Vikings as raiders and brutes, combs were everywhere in their world. They were carved, traded, gifted, and buried with the dead. Found in graves of men and women, warriors and children. Historians still argue whether they were used more for hygiene or for identity. Maybe both, but their presence is unquestioned. You finish combing and tuck your comb into your belt. Beside you, Bjorn dips his in a pot of warm resin and begins smoothing the tips of his mustache. "Wind's sharp today," he says, sniffing the air. "Don't want the ends curling." You nod, sagely, even though you've never once considered the aerodynamic properties of mustache curls. Outside, the camp is coming alive. Someone's loading fur-wrapped goods into a sled. Someone else is trying to get a cow to walk in a straight line. A child throws a snowball that lands squarely in a bucket of salt fish. To a chorus of groans. The journey to Burka will be long, of icy road along the river's edge. But the carts are packed, the sled runners waxed. And most importantly, everyone's beards are in excellent condition. You're handed a wool scarf and a small pouch of dried mint to chew during the journey. You notice how nearly every adult in your group wears their grooming kit tied to their waist. Combs dangle beside knives. Tiny grooming picks hang like charms. It's more than utility. It's presentation. Like a badge, You walk beside the sled. As the village disappears behind you, snow crunches beneath your boots. The sky turns pale gold. Frost clings to every branch like tiny silver teeth. And somewhere in the rhythm of footfalls and sled runners, a man begins to hum. Not a battle song, not a drinking chant. Something older, slower. A melody that sounds like carved wood and cold fingers, and strangely, it makes you reach again for your comb, your fingers tracing the now familiar grooves. You remember something the scowled told you last night over dinner. He had leaned in, eyes sparkling with a firelight and soup grease, and whispered, "Know what separates man from beast?" You'd shaken your head. "A comb," he'd said, then promptly dropped his into his stew. But the point stands. You pass another traveler on the road, a fur trader from the north. His sled is smaller, pulled by a shaggy horse with one blue eye. He nods at your group, eyes scanning your faces. When he reaches yours, he gives a faint grunt of approval. "Good grooming," he says, and rides on. Compliments in Viking land are rare. That was practically a love letter. As you near Berka, you start to see more people, traders, travelers, even a group of monks wrapped tightly in wool and suspicion. One of them stares openly at your party. When he catches your eye, he mutters something in Latin that includes the word barbarus. Bjorn leans. The market is a chaotic sprawl of canvas stalls, shouting voices, and mingling smells. You pass goods from every corner of the known world. Amber from the Baltic, silk from the East, silver from the ABBA, SIDS. And combs. Dozens of them laid out, on cloth, hung on strings, stacked in carved boxes, horn, bone, wood, ivory. Some in pairs, some with mirrors, some tiny enough for a pocket, some big enough for a horse's tail. Traders advertise their wares with cries of fine-toothed to good for knotted curses, and resin slicked for smoother lies. You buy one. Of course you do. It's made of dark wood, inlaid with a thin strip of bronze. It feels like it's always belonged to you. That evening, as campfires flicker across the trading field, or sail, or fight. But tonight, you comb, because you're a Viking now, and this is what you do. The fire crackles gently as dusk folds over the trading town of Berka. You're sitting on a log warmed by lingering sunlight. Your legs stretched out, one hand holding your newly acquired comb, the other picking something suspicious out of your cloaks. Possibly dried fish, possibly history. Either way, it's yours now. Around you, the camp hums with the contented clatter of post-trade victory. Coins jingle. Wine is poured. Someone's laughing too loudly, while another hums a slow tune in a language you don't know. And through it all, there's a repeated motion you're beginning to recognize with sleepy familiarity. Comb, stroke, twist. Grooming continues, long after business has ended. You lean back, eyes half closed, and take in the sight. Beards glint with oil, braids sway as people nod to stories. And the evening air smells not only of wood smoke and roasted meat, but of pine, beeswax, and the faint sour trace of vinegar used for cleaning combs. Viking hygiene wasn't just a morning thing. It was an all-the-time thing. Just then, a woman you recognize from the village Tova, the one who always smells faintly of sage